tätä Microsoft 365 SharePoint User Group Finland. Meillä on syyskuun kuukausittainen tapaaminen täällä näin. Ihan mennään suoraan heti, kun löydän oikein näytön ja näppäimme eteenpäin. Mennään hetkeksi, ihan pieneksi hetkeksi tuonne ensi kuun puolelle. Eli siellä on niin kuin lokakuussa 2 eri juttua meillä tulossa. Toinen on Ville Konkare puhumassa meidän SPUGin lokakuun online-tapaamisessa. Eli hän on digikuulta ja puhuu sitten modernin SharePointin monikielisyydestä. Ja sen lisäksi on myöskin Teams Community Finland-tapaaminen. Ville on äänessä siis lokakuun ensimmäisenä maanantaina, eli meidän normaalipaikalla 5.10. Ja sitten tätä Teams Community Finland tapaaminen oli 12.10. eli seuraavana maanantaina siitä. Ja nämä vähän niin kuin palaa tähän normaalikäytäntöön enemmän tuossa kohtaa niin kuin aikataulun mielessä. Siellä on meidän linkit Facebook-ryhmään ja Meetup-ryhmään, että niiden kautta pääsee tosissaan. Facebookissa on meidän keskustelut. Ainakin vielä toistaiseksi siellä kuitenkin sitä käydään ja ihan aktiivisestikin. Ja Meetupista sitten löytyy kaikki nämä meidän tapahtumat ja ne on siellä ilman, että tarvitsee erikseen olla Facebookissa tunnusta. Aika paljon ihmisiä, lähes 1000, niin kuin voi olla, että saadaan tänä vuonna vielä 1000 rikki. Eli varsin tyytyväinen saa olla tähän määrään. Tällä kertaa on sitten Jussi Mori äänessä, ja Jussi, you're going to have this in English.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, without further ado, your title is GrowthHacking User Adoption. So, and you're a Microsoft MVP, and what else are you? Please introduce yourself.
Okay.
You're coming out from Lightspeed. Right?
Exactly. Well, I have a separate slide for that.
Okay,
so
yeah, it's fine.
If I can take it.
Yeah, please take it from here.
All right. Okay, let me share my screen and let me know once you can see it. All right, is it visible?
Yep.
Yes.
It is.
Okay, so welcome to my brand new session, Growth Hacking User Adoption. Thanks, Katja and Olli, that you're having me. One small disclaimer, so 0 AIs have been harmed during creating this slide deck. So thanks for all the helpers at Microsoft to making me building this slide deck much easier with the design ideas. Those who know me, I like to always shake up things a little bit. So I've been in the user adoption field in Office 365 now for quite a while. And this session is about giving new ideas and thinking like directions when it comes to user adoption, when it comes to Office 365. And this is kind of the main purpose of this session. And hopefully I can give you something valuable with you in this short amount of time. So approximately 45 minutes of time when we have this session. All right, to myself, so that's me, Jussi. I'm born in Finland, but grew up in Zurich. My Finnish is pretty okay, but probably it will be quite funny if I would have this presentation in Finnish, because due to my funny language mistakes I make sometimes. So Finnish is actually my third language. And now actually I'm learning Swedish with Duolingo, so I'm pretty excited about that. Anyway, so I'm a product evangelist at Habit. Also do like mostly Office 365 change management projects as a consultant at Cloudriven, and also as a freelancer. And also I'm a co-organizer of SharePoint Saturday Helsinki and Central Europe. And I'm an MVP, Office App Services MVP, since 2013, at that time, starting here in Finland. I also have a YouTube channel together with my brother from another mother, Marijn Somers. He's also MVP, also active in the user adoption field. So we decided together do some work. And maybe you can see here the Star Wars theme coming up. So this has to do, I'm a big Star Wars geek and also a Lord of the Rings geek. And additionally, in my free time, if I find time, I like to go sailing. We have some road trips with the car. And now since a month ago, I started some weightlifting. So I'm pretty much a noob weightlifter at the moment, but I'm getting a lot of joy out of that. Okay, so much about me. Let's get started with the content. Oh, one thing. So if you have something to ask or to comment, then use the power of your mute finger or the unmute finger. So please recognize my great PowerPoint photo hacking in here, and the puns. I really like to do some puns here. But having said that, if you have something to ask, please unmute yourself and interrupt me. So my community journey started in Finland around 2010. I had about a year ago this session a session again here in the SharePoint user group Finland, and always see it a little bit as a homecoming. So I showed that last year as well, but I want to show it again. So the community journey started here, and since then quite a lot of things happened. So I traveled the world with the community. I went to New York, went to Monaco, to London, to Lisbon, to Barcelona, Milano, Vienna, Netherlands, Paris. So a lot of conferences since then, and it was really a very inspiring journey, and learned a lot and made, of course, a lot of friends. So for everyone who's interested in actually being active in the community, not only here locally, I can really highly recommend that. So why do I do this? Why do I go around and talk about user adoption? Because it is a very important topic. And when I started the community journey, I was pretty much alone with a few others talking about user adoption. And I'm really happy to see that this situation has changed now. So there's much more content around there around user adoption. A lot of MVPs picked it up and creating new ideas and new content and so on. And I'm extremely happy to see that there is some change in that sense. All right, but let's get started about content. So usually I like to start with Dilbert, and I think this one is just perfect. So it says, our sales have dropped to 0 in retail stores that have self-checkout. Then he says, apparently the people who are dumb enough to want our product are too dumb to know how to do a self-checkout. And then on a positive note, we have the most shoplifted product of the year. And then the manager says, yes. So this is really the problem in a nutshell of user adoption. So you come in, bring new stuff, and then you assume or you hope that users will just pick it up. And then they don't, and then they do something else, and the management is happy with that. So this is pretty much what is happening all the time. So I really think that this Dilbert hits the point. What else? So WTF, user adoption has to do with marketing, and what the heck is growth hacking? So why do they come together? And this is now what I want to bring across here in this session. So another problem, attention span of a modern human being today. This slide here is already 3 years old, but they found out that in 2000, average human attention span was like 13 seconds. And the attention span of a goldfish is like 9 seconds. And the average human attention span in 2015 was 8 seconds of a human, and now it is 3 to 5 seconds, the average attention span of an internet user. So what does this say to us? Maybe you are familiar with the term called clickbait. Clickbait has a meaning. It is only here to actually get people hooked to something, so that you get the attention from them. And this is why you are using this certain marketing trick or this certain story trick, but we come more to that. But basically, to bring a message across, you need to get the attention of a human being, right? And there are several ways to do that. And this is why marketers have invented those different mechanics. And they are more and more important in the modern world. So we can also say people buy stories before they buy stuff. Buying something is always an emotional, decision, or buying something is always driven by emotion. So if you don't have any emotion to something, you're probably not going to buy it. Even though if it's one of the most mundane thing, maybe you need something very simple, but it has always something attached to it that you need it, or it has an emotional value to you. So people buy stories before they buy stuff. And also people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. A very famous quote by Simon Sinek. All right. So what do we need? We need a simple but powerful strategy to get our message across. And when it comes to user adoption, bringing your message across is the thing you want to do, right? You want them to sell your thing. You want them to sell your new application. You want them to sell your productivity increase. You want them to sell your new process. It's about selling, and it's about the user to understand why this is important. So when the users have in average an attention span of a few seconds, so what do we need to do? We need to give them a hook, we need to give them a story, and we need to give them an offer. Only if you have these three in place, you actually get your users, get your attention, understand what you want to sell, and they actually need to have the means in order to receive what you want to sell, and this is the offer. It sounds very simple and obvious, but this is how it is. This is how marketing works. And this is how also the problems of user adoption should be addressed within an organization. Depending on the size of the organization, you have thousands and thousands of people. They're receiving information on every second. They receive new information, and especially now with the new tools like Teams, the problems we have from the internet world with the information overflow comes more and more and more into the organization as well. So you need other means to get your users hooked, to get their attention somehow. Okay, makes sense? So also Tyrion Lannister said it. What unites people? Armies? Gold? Flags? No, it's stories. There's nothing in the world more powerful than a good story. Nothing can stop it. No enemy can defeat it. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So all the big things, small and big things, what has happened in the world was always connected to a story. Might the story be true or not? It is a different thing, right? Even if you look at the media today or what's happening nowadays, there's a lot of stories around in the media. So how to craft a killer story? This is the Epiphany Bridge script, and I'm very sorry I'm going to ruin all your movies from now on, because every movie or every good story is done with that same script, the Epiphany Bridge script. And this is a story what is or a script which is very engaging for the users. So let's take it an example from Star Wars. I said I'm a Star Wars fan, so let's look at Luke. We have here Luke on the left-hand side. Luke has some desires, external or internal desires, and he has a backstory. So he was this farm boy growing up on Tatooine, doing some farming with his uncle Owen, and he always feels, hey, there is more to life than just farming and repairing droids. So he has these desires, external droid, going out there to the Space Academy. Maybe some internal desires. There is more to this. I can do more than just fixing droids. I'm more capable of. And then, of course, you remember the story. Stuff happened. The droids come. He meets Obi-Wan Kenobi. Then the stormtroopers come. They kill his family. So he hits a wall, right? And then he goes on a journey. He goes on a journey together with Obi-Wan and Han Solo. He goes there and finds out more about himself and about his backstory. So he's developing during that story. He's going to rescue the princess. And then the princess says there is actually a plan to fight the evil empire. So he has an epiphany together with his friends. and a new opportunity arises. And then they make other plans and they try and they hit walls and they try until they further develop until the final conflict arises. The final conflict, of course, is when Luke goes and shoots down his torpedoes down the Death Star. So what happened? There was an achievement. The evil empire got a big hit, but in the end there was also transformation from the farm boy Luke into the young Jedi he became after A New Hope. So, and this is the very powerful thing, and this is why people love this story so much, because they see the transformation. And with your users in the user adoption, there's exactly the same. You want them from a not knowing person using Teams or Office 365 into transforming to a very engaged person who can actually go and work very, very productively and actually goes and creates content and maybe creates new way of working ideas together with their peers. So there's the heroes or the user's journey, again, in a nutshell. So you have to start, the user goes to an adventure, meeting maybe a mentor, and hopefully that's a very good change practitioner, or it's a very good project manager or a communications agent who understands how important the whole user adoption is. The user crosses a threshold from the normal world and the unknown world, which is just coming. What types of trials and failures I need to go through in order to grow new skills? And this is only done with the help of helpers in whatever form they are. Then you have the death and rebirth is, of course, a bit dramatically said, but this is what is happening. So you need to unlearn new ways or unlearn ways how you have been working before with the new tools. So it's kind of a death of the ways of working from before. You have a revelation on the mistakes you have made and how to further improve, and then you basically the change starts to happen from the inside. You have an atonement, then you get in the end the gift of achievement, and then you return as a changed person. So this is very, very common in a script, also in a story. And when you think about the marketing stories of your Office 365 user adoption projects, always have the hero, the end user in mind. What goes the user through when she or he needs to learn those new things? Okay, it's very, very important. So why do I tell you all of this stuff? Okay, so since user adoption deals with people and people really, really dig stories, what if we use marketing methods to drive user adoption? So there's a lot of very, very powerful tools out there and methods out there to try to sell stuff, okay? So why not using the similar methods and tools to actually sell your user adoption internally to your users? Okay, so let's look a bit about the definitions at play here. What is marketing? So marketing is telling a story, again, the story, with the intent of a sale. I intend to sell something through this story. Okay, this is what marketing is all about. What is selling? So selling is actually removing all obstacles to buy. So you remove all hindrances and challenges from the users that they would buy your story. And then closing is creating the urgency to buy now. So this is the trigger what actually makes the users to act, to engage. Okay, and this is a very, very powerful tool. And just as a small example, since I'm using now this Duolingo app, there they use this very, very well, this engaging method, that you have this kind of daily streaks, what you are, when you open the app every day and learn. If you don't open that, they will send you messages and bombard you with notifications saying, hey, if you don't do your training now, you will lose your daily streak. I mean, okay, you lose the daily streak, so what? But it is still very, very engaging. It's this very powerful trigger to actually make me to, okay, yeah, I have no time, 5 minutes, I go and check this and do this. So these are very, very small, but very powerful measures to actually get users to act, to get them to do something what you want. Okay, and this are, when you think about your user adoption campaigns or your user adoption projects, always think about the user and how to actually get them engaged and how to get them to act in basically looking at a new manual or a co-creating a new content for the community or something like that. All right. So what is then growth hacking? So growth hacking is a very how to say, it's maybe a bit of a trendy term at the moment in the field in the marketing, but it comes from the design thinking background basically. But in a nutshell, it means that, okay, with growth hacking, you go and test different ideas in order to grow your audience or in order to grow your user base and so forth. So you do creative thinking or you do this design thinking to create content. You might have some engineering by meaning the delivery of that content or automation of the delivery of your content, or you have some engineering which needs to be done to do analysis for the content delivery you are doing. Of course, you have social media monitoring in the corporate world. Of course, you have also the auditing and the trailing of your user behavior and so forth. You have social media metrics by meaning what is a good engagement rate, what is a not so good engagement rate, why was this engagement rate not good, and so forth. So you need to figure out those points, and then you have this analytical thinking, and this is one of the main points when it comes to growth hacking. So you basically create stories or marketing content and different channels. You send them out, and then you get data in how they are received, how well they are received, or how not well they are received, and so forth. So an idea of having, okay, this content hasn't been received well by the audience is almost as valuable as having content which has been received very positively. So you kind of create, you send out, you analyze, you test, you adapt, and then you create again. Okay, and with user adoption, it is pretty much the same. So in a classical way, it has always been like that you create this a lot of training material, or you have this classical trainings, and then you throw them over the fence, and then you just see what happens, or you try let them fly by themselves, and it never really worked. And especially nowadays when the technology stack is changing so fast, almost on a weekly basis, it's impossible to do that in old manner. So you need to really find other ways, and especially find ways to track how your users are receiving the information you are sending them out. And then you can see, okay, now, for instance, this post was really well received. This information didn't create any engagement, by meaning people didn't open it or didn't engage with the links or something like that. So if you don't know this data, how could you improve yourself? And this is kind of the growth hacking spirit. And I believe, or I know, doing user adoption in this type of manner works really, really well. So it's a continuous user adoption delivery cycle. So you create, you execute, you analyze, you adopt, and then you repeat. And it goes over and over and over again until you find actually the, or you hit the target, what you want. Okay. So, and again, as I already mentioned, it's a continuous delivery cycle, by meaning user adoption never ends, basically. And I will come to that, why it is so. It just goes different. So as you remember the Epiphany Bridge script, the user goes through a transformation, and you cannot say the same story to the user after half a year of going through the transformation. It will not be relevant for the user anymore. So it needs to change all the time. And you need to know how your users have changed and where they stand in their user adoption journey. Okay. So the 4 user adoption marketing campaigns and their purpose. So for those who have seen content of me already before, they know this, okay? there are 4 phases or 4 campaigns when it comes to user adoption. The first one is the discovery campaign, and the purpose of this campaign is to ignite curiosity with the hero, with the user. Okay, you need to take the fear away from them to learn new stuff. The main purpose is to ignite curiosity, to say, hey, actually this is not so hard to learn, or wow, I can do this cool stuff by myself. For instance, last week I implemented a bot by myself almost, and I'm not a dev, and I'm like, wow, I can do this now myself. And now I'm curious to actually go and do this and do more of this by myself. Okay, so ignite curiosity is in the discovery in the beginning, and very, very important in that phase is that you take fear away from the end user to learn, or the fear of change to learn new things. The onboarding phase after that, when the user is curious, like, okay, now I want to learn more, comes the creation of understanding. So that's the typical onboarding phase. That's kind of the classical way, e-learning, basically way, or the learning phase, the learning campaign. So, okay, I want to know now really how does this Teams work now? I understood its value. I can now go and join a Teams call. I can maybe write some posts in the chat, but how can I do a live event, or how can I do a recording, or how do I optimize the use of the file share, or how do I actively collaborate together with friends or with colleagues? So that is kind of the things or the answers you find in the onboarding phase. And after that comes the productivity phase, and this is there where you generate value. This is there where the most value is generated, and this is where you want to have your end users as soon as possible. So you don't want to have them stuck in the discovery or onboarding phase. You want to have every single one be in the productivity phase, where everyone can go and create value in that new application or that new process you are trying to bring across. And last but not least, we have the mastery campaign or the mastery phase, and this is kind of the enabling of automation. Of course, this is now in the focus or in the context of Office 365 user adoption. So the masters are the ones who go and make stuff faster and more efficient. And usually not everyone ends in the mastery phase. Usually it's the innovators and the early adopters who end up there, who really quickly go through those phases and understand the value really fast and are very engaged with learning and finding out new things. So those people, they come into the mastery phase. And it's okay that not everyone goes there. Okay, if you would have only masters, there would also be maybe a bit of an issue there. So, but again, you want everyone to be in the productivity phase. So what sample measures there are by campaign? So again, I want to bring as much as value for you here as possible. And this is something what I have been now gathering and testing and learning through all the years of doing change management and user adoption projects. And again, you can see here those 4 phases and what type of measures you do, or what type of things you do, what type of channels you use in the different phases of the user adoption journey. So on the bottom, we have the time going from left to right. And on the bottom, we also have the champions. And I have champions here 3 times, because without the champions, you have no foundation. If there is like just you with your team doing this in a big organization, you will lose. You need to have a champions group or a champions program or a genius or a heroes program or a key user or whatever you call it. They are your long arm in your organization to help you bringing those campaigns to life. So on the bottom we have those, and on top we have the analyze, test, and feedback loops and adopt, and those campaigns, they actually live here in the middle. So the discovery phase, depending on the size of the project or the people you work with, usually goes from 1 to 3 months. And there you use things like town hall sessions, where you give like overviews, where probably the sponsor, the project sponsor, tells about the project. Why are we doing this? Why is this important? What is in it for you, right? You have there the frequently asked questions, the tips of the week. Also, you have things like what tool to use when. One of my colleagues has a brilliant example for that, with kind of an interactive map where the users can click through. Okay, I want to now store documents what only I work with, what are other use cases, so then you can see what tool to use and things like that. So quick guides like getting started, taking the fear away of the user, and not overloading them with content and learning material, that giving them the right information at the right time into the right context is key here. Then, of course, also explain their videos. Videos are the most engaging learning content you can create. If you have time and budget to create videos, do that. That's the best, okay? And here again, rather shorter videos than longer ones, couple of minutes or something like that. So after discovery phase, depending on the size, 1 to 3 months, you go to the onboarding phase, usually 2 to 5 months, depending on the size. And there you really have the learning, online learning or webinars, whatever you want to call it or how you want to use it. Webinars is maybe more a one-to-many training, whereas online trainings is that you get more participation. Of course, when you have more participation with your end users, you can go more deeper. This is more, let's say, for deep dive trainings, very good. But if you want to educate a large amount of people, then webinars or a session like we do right now works really well. Also, what has been very well received is Ask Me Anything clinic sessions. So you have those webinars, you have maybe a theme per week, and then after that theme or so, you have an Ask Me Anything clinic where people can just join and ask an expert questions about a certain thing. Then, of course, you have tech talks where it goes more deeper technical for those who are already ready or interested in that. So the early adopters and innovators, you always need to give content a bit for everyone. And then, of course, you also have the user guides, and there preferably you would have in-context user guides to give for the users so that they learn where they use the application or the tool or the process. In the productivity phase, this is then after the onboarding has been done, you would have the productivity phase, and that is actually ongoing. And the same as the mastery is like ongoing. So I said, when you are in the productivity, you're basically done. The thing what you do there is you create routine, you become faster in your ways of working. So for instance, there you would release first business automations. You would give productivity tips. You would give advanced end user stuff. So for instance, when it comes to Teams, you would teach them how to use shortcuts, Teams shortcuts. I use Teams shortcuts all the time. They're cool, but you maybe don't want to show them on the first day for the end user. So when they have already learned how to work with them, you give them more tips. Hey, actually, if you do this, you can be even more efficient and things like that. There you would also give like deep dive online trainings for the citizen developers. And here usually, again, don't force it on everyone. Not everyone wants to go and create power apps or create power automates, but most likely everyone would use them if they are useful and valuable. So for those who are interested in building those, give them the meanings to do so. Also have the more advanced tech talks, and again, the Ask Me Anything clinics, I would keep on doing them also in the productivity phase every now and then. And here again, the champions, involve the champions more and more. So if you are a consultant doing a change project, probably in the beginning you would do it yourself, but you want actually to onboard the customer as fast as possible that they can run them themselves. And then you basically take a step back and be a coach, and actually you make yourself obsolete. Okay, as a consultant, your duty is to make yourself obsolete as fast as possible if you're a good consultant. Then, of course, the mastery. This is, I said here, especially for innovators and early adopters. There you would have content like advanced automations, deep dive webinars, ideation workshops together with business units. So where actually business units come and say, hey, we had this issue. Can you go and hack us something together? So there you could do something like power hackathons or something like that. But these are just sample measures by campaign. What I have just come across, what worked really, really, really well now in the last couple of years, where I'm testing this continuous user adoption as a service type of idea, and especially now adding the growth hacking idea on that actually testing all the different materials you do and the feedback you get from them to further develop them and make them more meaningful. So that works actually really, really well. So just as a tip for you, what you can maybe even take now away from this session. So what would be ideas on story delivery? So how would you deliver this? So automate as much as possible. So if you have tools to do automation of content delivery, try to do that, especially in a large organization. There are, of course, hacks you can do. You can use email automation or Power Automate to send out posts or to send out emails, or maybe you can even use Dynamics in-house to automate your content delivery. Basically using marketing automation internally to bring your messages across is here my point. So when you have the means to do that, do this. It will really scale your ways of communicating with your users and will turbo boost your efficiency when it comes to user adoption. Also, repeat your message over and over and over again. So therefore, email marketing automations tools make sense. So the user will not understand if she or he reads a message once. It needs to be said many, many, many times. This is just how it is. Remember the attention span thing as well. So I saw a study at some point, a user to actually start clicking on an ad, the user needs to see that ad 7 to 8 times until the user actually starts to really look at it. Even though the user might be interested in looking at the ad, but you see them during the day, so the brain just filters them out. And the same is with user adoption. So you need to bring the same message over and over again, maybe on different channels or on different methods. And this is a bit the challenging point here. Okay, so you need to think, how can I deliver the message to them on a meaningful way and also not overload them with things because they're already overloaded and you don't want to become a nuisance for them. And also never release all at once. Again, the information overflow stuff, for instance, introduce themed weeks. So this worked also really well in our customer cases. You have a Teams week, or then you have a Planner week, or then you have a OneDrive for Business week. And then, of course, all the other content is available as well, but you proactively push more content around that particular topic in this week. And for the users, it's then easier to focus on one thing. If you always change the context, it's for a user much harder to stay engaged. All right. Then again, follow up. The fortune is in the follow-up. So again, the user needs to see the message over and over again. Here, maybe a small example. I did some online marketing training, and there was an example that they did a kind of a online sales tool where they were trying to sell a product, and they sold the same product with kind of ads and guiding users to a landing page, and then they're buying the product from there. So when they did the first test in 1 month without a follow-up, that product selling made something like $10,000. Then they did the same test with the similar product, the similar message, but they did a follow-up by meaning a marketing automation system where they were sending emails around, right? So the turnover, what they did, or the sales, what they did was 8 times more. So they made with exactly the same product, $80,000. So again, the fortune is in the follow-up. And as we say again, you want to sell your idea, you want to sell your application, you want to sell your product to your end user. So follow up your messages, follow up and send the messages over and over again. And then again, as said, using tools which helps you with that, not that you need to go have hundreds of Excel lists and sending that. So use the tools there are, and mostly they just lay around and the customer pays expensive licenses and they are not used up in the most meaningful ways. Let me check the time. Still have a bit. Okay. So what is still the most engaging communication channel in a corporation or online marketing? Drum roll. It is email. So please don't shoot the messenger. I know there's a lot of Teams fans out there. I'm also a Teams fan, but these are opinions, and opinions really don't matter. The market opinions matter. So what the end users use matters. Okay, so email is still the most engaging channel when it comes to receiving and engaging with a certain sales message. Okay, so the power of email again. Don't shoot the messenger, please. This is just how it is still. Okay. So in a study, they found out that you're 6 times more likely to get a click-through from an email marketing campaign than you are from a tweet or a similar post. So if you post a link to somewhere, if you actually have someone subscribe to an email list, you most likely will get people clicking on that, looking at your content, then posting something on your Facebook or on your Yammer page or in your Teams channel. Okay. We also see that for me at Habit, when we do the growth hacking, when we send out newsletters, we have much higher engagement rates from those email lists than when we do social media posts. So keep that in mind. Email is still really relevant and a good thing. Okay, doesn't mean that you should now ditch Teams or Yammer. Try to use both or all of the tools, but you still, as kind of the main messenger, still use email nowadays. So email is 40 times more effective at acquiring new customers than Facebook or Twitter. So in the context of acquiring new customers in user adoption is in the discovery phase, when you want to bring a new message across, send first time the message per email. Okay, maybe it doesn't make sense to make a internet post or a Teams post because there is no one on Teams yet. So you go fishing where the fish are, right? So you want to sell cat food to cat owners and not to dog owners, right? So use those tools and those channels which people are still using and familiar with in the beginning. And over time, you move them over to there where you want them to be. Also, when it comes to purchases made as a result of receiving a marketing message, email has the highest conversion rate at 66% when compared to social direct mail and other marketing tools. Again, I make here the cross connection between online selling and in-house marketing. So it's the same. We are the same people in the internet like we are in a corporate environment. Of course, in a corporate environment, you might look 2 times at the email of your boss or so than on a post on Facebook. So 71% of people prefer to receive promotional content through email compared to 17% who prefer social media. You see it yourself, those annoying ads, you don't even look at them. But if you are subscribed to an email list, then you most likely will look at this because at some point you gave your, let's say, most valuable online currency, which is your email address. You gave it to someone. Okay, so you're interested in receiving content from that person or that company or whatever you gave your online currency to. And email marketing drives more conversions than any other marketing channel, including search and social. And also email marketing has an ROE of 3.8%. Just as a food for thought, again, I'm not a big fan of email when it comes to collaboration and conversation, but to bring messages across, especially in the beginning, it is still very relevant and powerful. So we are soon at the end. You can see it. So as the last thing I want to give away from here, so my user adoption mantra is facts instead of opinions, stories instead of functions, and emotions instead of processes. And this is something I try to live all the time. And when it came to also in general user adoption or product marketing, it's something I needed to learn myself, that my opinion doesn't really matter when it comes to the market. Only the market opinion matters. So for instance, I could think I have the greatest product in the world, but if the market doesn't think so, then what does it matter? Okay, so then you rather have your story wrong, or then you just build something what no one really needs. Okay, so therefore you need to figure out those things. So when users are not adapting to your tools or to your process, maybe your process or tools are not fitting for the purpose, or then you don't tell them a story, or you don't tell them the right story, which triggers an emotion to them. Okay. Okay, so that was it. So as always, we say in Finland, kiitos ja anteeksi. I'm sorry if I have ruined your future movie goings with Epiphany Bridge script, but I find it very interesting to analyze those movies. So when you know that pattern, you can really see, okay, now the protagonist hits the wall and now there's the conflict and so forth. So it's very interesting. But if you found that interesting, it was the first time I had this session now. I wanted to test this a bit here on the home waters. So if you want to connect on Twitter, LinkedIn, and then of course on Facebook as well. So happy to connect there. Yeah, that was it. So now you can use your mute or unmute finger to ask questions or comments.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Jussi. So, any questions?
Typical Finnish round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course. Katja will give one, definitely. So let's. I have a comment because I found this presentation very interesting because it comes from so different sort of like perspective than I have, because I'm so like too technical kind of guy. Yes. And so this is always like it's very, how do you say, it's very fresh perspective for me, definitely.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I could do something differently. I could
Good.
I could change.
Good.
Yeah.
Then I achieved something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And also it got me thinking, like not just like how do, let's say, Teams adoption or something like that, but also like how to make a change in the office environment or the organization you work in. Like I would like to make a small change here, and this is kind of like the way to actually make that happen. Yeah. You know, if you want to change how people behave, like how internal processes work or something like that, you also need to sell it. So it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I went through this Epiphany Bridge script myself, right? Yeah. So I had this epiphany that, hey, actually user adoption, you need to handle it like marketing, you know. And before I was always, it's like learning, you know, classical learning, and you need to just teach them and so on. Functions over emotions, right? And then over the time, it just, you know, opened up that, hey, actually, you know, it's like an internal, you want to sell your stuff to your users.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not always easy, and user adoption is not an easy topic because there are humans involved. And for you, Olli, if you have a problem with your computer, you just debug it, but try to debug your colleague.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to change someone. You can change yourself, but to change somebody, how someone else behaves, that's difficult.
Yes, exactly. You can never change someone. Only people can change themselves, but you can show them or you can give them a reason to change. Yeah.
See. All right.
Alrighty.
Hey, thank you very much again, Jussi.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. And I think we will do it again in less than a year or so.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.